This episode of the BIC Magazine Weekly Industry Report is brought to you by Draeger Rental and Safety Services, your trusted source for industrial safety services and technology. We'll share more about Draeger later in the episode. Welcome to the BIC Magazine Weekly Industry Report, your go-to source for the latest updates in the energy sector. I'm Samantha, your AI podcast host, and today is November 15th, 2024. In today's episode, Shell's ruling could set a climate precedent, Coterra announces nearly $4 billion in Permian Basin acquisitions, and other top news from the energy sector this week. But before we get started, we ask that if you enjoy our podcast, please like, comment, and share it with your colleagues. Your support helps us grow and allows us to bring you even more exciting updates from the energy sector in the future. With that being said, let's jump into the first story. Kicking things off with global energy, Shell recently scored a legal win in The Hague. The Dutch appeals court overturned a 2021 ruling that required Shell to cut emissions by 45% by 2030. The court did acknowledge that Shell holds a responsibility to reduce emissions, but agreed with the company's stance that such sweeping mandates are ultimately the job of governments, not individual corporations. This decision comes as global leaders debate the role of fossil fuels at the COP29 Climate Summit, where tensions are high on how aggressively to transition away from oil and gas. Meanwhile, Shell has reiterated its commitment to invest billions in low-carbon projects, though it's scaling back on some renewable operations. Next up, let's dive into some big moves in the Permian. Coterra Energy just shook things up with not one, but two major acquisitions. They're set to buy key assets from Franklin Mountain Energy and Avant Natural Resources for a grand total of $3.95 billion. The cash and stock split? $2.95 billion in cash and $1 billion in Coterra stock to one of the sellers. CEO Tom Jordan couldn't be happier, calling these acquisitions highly accretive for Coterra's expanding foothold in the Permian Basin. These deals aren't locked in yet. They're slated to close in early 2025 if all goes smoothly, but they're already expected to add some serious value in oil production and set up Coterra for a long runway of efficient growth. Moving on now, we've got some movement in the U.S. renewable fuel market. Renewable fuel credits, or RINs, have surged to multi-month highs, driven by refiners scrambling to meet federal mandates and rising prices for soy oil. For biofuel producers, it's a win. They rely on these credits to offset high production costs. But for petroleum refiners, it's a tougher pill to swallow, as their margins have taken a hit this year. The price spike comes despite speculation around potential changes to small refinery exemptions, leaving the market in a bit of uncertainty. Before we move on to our next story, a quick word from our sponsor. This episode of the BIC Magazine Weekly Industry Report is brought to you by Draeger Rental and Safety Services. From daily operations to large turnaround and shutdown projects, partner with Draeger for smart technical solutions that protects, supports, and saves lives. To learn more, visit www.draeger.com. For our next story, we have leadership news from Louisiana's chemical industry. The Louisiana Chemical Association and Louisiana Chemical Industry Alliance are officially on the hunt for their next president and CEO. Greg Bowser, who has served in the role since 2016, plans to support the organization through 2025 to ensure a smooth transition. Bowser has dedicated 34 years to the LCA, significantly impacting government affairs, community engagement, and economic development. Danny Setatal, the incoming 2025 chairman, praised Bowser's long-standing contributions, calling him essential to the state's chemical industry success. While the association recollects on past success, the search for its future is in motion, with the TJC Group in Baton Rouge leading the recruitment effort. To close the show out, let's dig into some data center development news. Dataprana just broke ground on a 30-megawatt immersion-cooled data center in Lamarck, Texas, about 38 miles outside Houston. Local leaders like Mayor Pro Tem Joe Compion and City Manager Cesar Garcia joined Dataprana CEO Arseni Grusha and others to celebrate the start of this high-tech project. This isn't just any data center. Dataprana's Lamarck facility will feature top-notch cooling tech from manufacturers like IntelliFlex and Arctic Systems, keeping hardware cool and quiet, perfect for reducing impact on the community. Beyond the tech, Dataprana's plan includes creating jobs and fueling local growth, positioning Texas even more prominently on the tech map. This is one of several projects Dataprana has on deck, with over 140 megawatts of data center capacity in development, including an AI-focused center for cutting-edge NVIDIA hardware. And with that, we come to a close on this week's episode of the BIC Magazine Weekly Industry Report. You can head over to bicmagazine.com to read the full stories discussed today, and make sure to follow us on all of our social media channels so that you never miss out on the latest developments, updates, and announcements from the energy sector. Have a great day, and remember, it's what we do together that counts. Thank you again to Draeger Rental and Safety Services for sponsoring today's episode. Make sure to visit www.draeger.com to learn more about Draeger's smart safety solutions for your facility. When safety matters, rely on Draeger, technology for life.